Good evening, everyone. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. Let's begin. First up, family of crash victim urges judge to impose stiffer sentence on driver. Joseph Learned pleads guilty to negligent homicide and crash that killed Concord man. Let's take a listen to the video from WMUR News 9.
The New Hampshire Department of Corrections has immediate openings for corrections officers. Apply today.
Well, the victim of the crash died here in April of last year. Since then, his loved ones have waited for justice, but they argue this isn't it.
If he could bring Tyler back, that's the only thing that could ease us.
Almost a year and a half after he was killed, Tyler Shaw's family remains grief-stricken. The 20-year-old lost his life last year in Bow. A sign marks the spot where he was hit by Joseph Leonard, who today pleaded guilty to negligent homicide and aggravated DWI.
It's the first time he's been in handcuffs, so it felt good to see him finally taken in handcuffs.
Leonard admits he sped off an exit on Interstate 89, ignoring a stop sign, and was drunk when he crashed into Tyler with a blood alcohol level of 0.16.
When he struck the vehicle that Tyler Shaw was operating, he struck it in the side. This truck rolled onto its side, and Tyler was pinned under the truck. He was pronounced dead at the scene.
This is Leonard's third DWI conviction. Under a plea bargain, he would simultaneously serve 5 to 10 years in prison on the negligent homicide charge and 3.5 to 7 years for the DWI.
It's not enough time. You heard his record in court, and this is his third DWI. It's not enough time. If any individual deserves a maximum sentence, it's him, and his history dictates that.
Tyler's mother is urging the judge to reject the plea.
When your son's taken away at 20 years old, tragically, the only thing you have left is justice. And that's what we want, is we want justice for Tyler. Tyler deserves justice.
Sentencing in this case is scheduled for October 4th. That's when the judge will decide whether or not to accept the plea agreement. Reporting live in Bow, Mike Cronin, WMUR News 9.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And now let's take a look at your U.S. stock market and see how your U.S. stock market closed for this Thursday evening. And here's a look at that U.S. stock market for all of you for this Thursday evening. Your Dow Jones Industrial Average closed in the red and went down. Your Nasdaq closed in the green and went up. S&P 500 closed in the green and went up. Gold closed in the red and went down. Oil closed in the green and went up. U.S. 10-year closed flat. Euro/USD closed in the green and went up. And VIX closed in the green and went up. S&P 500 closed flat, hovering near record high. The Dow Jones Industrial Average gave up a 100-point gain, and the S&P 500 held steady just under its all-time high on Thursday as investors checked their optimism about renewed U.S.-China trade talks. New video shows alleged intoxicated pilot trying to board airplane. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
New surveillance video showing what happened in the moments before that Delta pilot was arrested and charged with attempting to fly a plane under the influence in late July. New surveillance video showing what he did just before boarding the plane that made airport security officials very suspicious. David Curley is at Reagan National, has those details. Good morning, David.
Morning, Robin. While this is a story about a pilot getting into the cockpit, it's also a story about security personnel and surveillance cameras and how quickly they can track somebody in an airport. This morning, watch as this Delta pilot, accused of being intoxicated, makes it through initial security as he's getting ready to fly from Minneapolis to San Diego. But when Gabriel Schroeder gets close to his gate, a random secondary check is set up. As he sees what's happening, police say his demeanor changes. When asked to put his bag on the table, he tells police, "I'm not ready," and turns and walks away. Suspicious, officers ask that the pilot be tracked through the airport, and these surveillance cameras show the 37-year-old finding an escalator, heading down a floor to a men's bathroom in late July. He's in that bathroom for only 30 seconds, where police say they later found a bottle of vodka stuffed in one of the trash cans. Schroeder then heads back to the checkpoint, telling an officer he had to go back to the pilot's lounge to get his iPad. Schroeder passes and gets on the jetliner into the first officer's seat, but police officers board and ask the pilot to leave the cockpit.
For a pilot, he looked a little disheveled, like he had the white with the epaulets and that, but it was dire need of an ironing. It was kind of a schleppy look.
Authorities say when they tested the pilot's blood alcohol level 2.5 hours later, it was under the limit. But authorities say when he was in the cockpit, he was likely over the limit for pilots. The 37-year-old pilot initially denied discarding the vodka and said he had 3 drinks and a beer the night before.
Actually, this says very good things about airport security personnel going beyond just checking boxes and maintaining a high level of situational awareness.
Schroeder faces 2 charges. Some pilots do jail time, like these 2 United pilots busted in Scotland. Others, did you put 270 passengers at risk?
No comment.
Like this JetBlue pilot, gave up his pilot's license and never went to trial. Now, that Delta pilot who was arrested back in July is due in court in November. How often does this happen? According to the statistics, the latest statistics, it's about once every month in the U.S. that a pilot is arrested. Guys?
Once too much. All right. Thank you, David.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a great rest of your Thursday evening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another newscast. And I'll have a news report coming up in a little bit. Good night and bye.